Hearing from an East Texas man pardoned for the crimes at the U.S. Capitol on January the 6th. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Alex Harkrider of Carthage is back in his hometown after being released from federal prison less than 48 hours ago. And he's talking exclusively with KLTV7's Blake Holland tonight.
I can't thank these people enough for giving me this love and support. It means a lot to me.
In Carthage tonight, a homecoming celebration for Alex Harkrider.
Very, very happy for Mr. Harkrider to get released. I feel he was a hostage.
I gave him a big hug, told him he looked great, and that he had a lot of people here really rooting for this situation.
This gathering of family and friends comes just days after Harkrider was pardoned by President Trump and released from federal prison.
It was tough being away from family, people I love and everything. I really missed my dog, but you know, I got through it though. I'm done with that now.
Harkrider was serving a 2-year prison sentence after being convicted by a federal judge on a number of felony charges. The Justice Department said he wore body armor and carried a tactical tomahawk inside the Capitol and left with a broken piece of government furniture. Do you regret anything from that day? Would you go back and change anything if you could?
I would still support President Trump. I would still protest what I genuinely believe to be a rigged election.
Harkrider was at the Capitol with friend Ryan Nichols of Longview, also pardoned and released. He pled guilty in 2023 to charges including assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers. In his prosecution, the government used video showing Nichols yelling in a bullhorn, saying if you have a weapon, you need to get your weapon. Additional video showed Nichols taking a large red aerosol canister and spraying it toward federal officers.
The past 4 years, we have not been able to have any contact with each other. We did talk on the phone that night, and I plan on seeing him hopefully before the end of the week.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Before they were arrested, both Nichols and Harkrider were involved with rescue work in disaster zones. It's something Harkrider wants to get back to, along with his barbecue catering business. If you could say something to President Trump, what would you say?
I would say thank you. Thank you for doing the right thing, and I would ask him if he would like some barbecue, because I know a guy.
In Carthage, Blake Holland, KLTV 7 News.
Now, not everyone got a pardon. 14 people who were charged with seditious conspiracy had their sentences commuted, meaning they're still convicted felons, unlike those who were pardoned.